Me and Tash having a conversation about woke washing. What does that mean? Do you know what it means?
I do know what it means. Do you want to explain it?
I'll explain it. It is essentially, in a really reductive way, it is when an advertiser uses a social movement, uses a social movement and attaches the values and ethics of that movement onto a brand. And what that usually means is that the person that engages with, they're either trying to reach a different type of audience or demographic that maybe they haven't reached before. And usually what it means, or the intention of it from the advertiser, is that now when you as a customer engage with that brand commercially, you're essentially assuaging your desire to be, you know, a virtuous person and
part of that movement.
Part of that movement, and you know that's something you believe in and stand up for as well. And by buying this thing, I'm part of that. This brand understands me and my social, you know, desires and my desire for justice.
So what we were just debating is that obviously this is a phenomena that has been,
Gillette recently, Nike a few months ago.
So for me, whilst this woke washing phenomenon has grown over the past year, and this name has, I don't know when this name
recently
came out. Yeah, and it's become a thing, and it's something that advertising has been talked about. You know, should people do this? Can you do it purposefully? Can you do it in a way that works?
Is it authentic? Yeah,
it's authentic. For me, it's actually just an extension of being topical and what we would call kind of news hijacking. So jumping on issues and that are already kind of have momentum behind them because they matter and they're what people are talking about, and jumping on that and creating another, furthering a conversation on something that's topical. And what's really interesting about using topicality is one of the known ways, one of the kind of scientific ways of going viral and creating content messaging that goes viral is to create content that's topical or on a subject that is front of mind. So say, for instance, the reason why a lot of parenting videos do well, and this is bringing it down to a non-societal issue, but the reason parenting videos do well is because for nearly, the majority of the adult population are parents, and therefore being a parent is always relatively near the front of your mind. Mm-hmm. And therefore you naturally engage with videos on parenting. So that is a known, jumping on top of a phenomenon or a discussion or something that's front of mind is a way of creating content that goes viral.
Sure. For me it's a double-edged sword, I think, in the sense that it's quite sceptical to use something that's quite kind of
painful,
emotive and painful and relevant to people, and to attach that to essentially a commercial entity that probably has quite a dysfunction and dystopic history of how they interact in the world. Right? It's highly cynical. So on the other hand,
if it works,
this is the debate. On the other hand, these brands that are doing it and they cause the backlash from people that are like, this is cynical, they cause the backlash from people that disagree with the social movement that they're attaching to their product, what it certainly does is put them in the front and centre of everyone's mind and the front of the press. So it works. In inverted commas, right? If people are talking about the brand when they weren't talking about the brand before.
Well, we know that being topical works. It's like the nature of woke washing, where you're attaching yourself to more of a societal issue or a social issue, then becomes a bit more cynical than just being topical, which is like, this has happened in the news, so we're going to talk about this. It then becomes like we're making a deliberate play on people's emotions, but it still works. So it's interesting that then it becomes a kind of highly charged debate, and it's because societal issues have that extra layer of emotion around them.
Yeah, and I think cynically as well, these brands are just trying to target a certain demographic that they think might be twofold, right? The brands might think that demographic have their beliefs. However, the advertising agency that comes up with these ideas might be composited of people that do have those beliefs. So for them, it's true.
Like all brands want to target segments of the population and will come up with different ways in which to target different segments of the population. It's like, is this a terrible thing, or is this a thing that does work for brands?
It's risky.
It is risky.
It's really risky.
It could work.
It could work, but it also could.
But it's highly charged.
It's highly charged. It's highly emotive, and we know those kind of things work with brands. And
so, would you do it?
No.
But I would try and be topical.
I would try and be topical. I would try and be relevant to core human values, but I would not.
And I would try and create content about something that is front of mind.
Sure.
But perhaps less of a kind of dagger in the heart.
I would be more nuanced with my approach to it. I think if I was going to use things that people found relevant to their lives, and I had to be honest, for me, it's this, right? If I owned a brand that lived that truth and had those values as a brand, I would do it. If I owned a brand that was
a big global corporation,
you know, that might accidentally have some, like, you know, child labour over there, but goes, hey, we're all about positive, you know, social justice, I wouldn't do it because it's inauthentic.
But look, it comes back to what you always say about the kind of content consuming social landscapes just being really media savvy. So they actually just see through it.
Yeah.
So if you have a big global brand that's really just kind of all about global expansion that suddenly attaches itself to the societal issue of the moment, then people are really cynical about that.
Yeah.
But if you were actually a brand that was born out of that societal movement because your founder had been, or whatever, somehow you were linked to it and you attach yourself to that, then that would massively go in your favour and everyone would 100% buy into you. So it's just about, comes back to what we always talk about time and time again, being real and honest, because you can't actually not do that in the social landscape because it's so, you're so exposed, you'll get caught out.
Instantly. We agree then?
We agree.
Successful conclusion of a healthy debate between two adults.
An aunt and her nephew.